Hi, and welcome to this VisionServer tutorial video. This video is a continuation of the previous introduction tutorial. In the previous tutorial, we created a very simple image processing application to do a simple motion detection algorithm. In this video, we're going to expand on what we had done earlier by adding some logic using scripting. We'll also look at adding data and image logging, along with creating a more fully featured HMI. So now, if we go back to our image processing sequence that we developed earlier, we can see that we have our camera and our motion detector block. And we simply saved the motion image into a tag, and we saved the motion level into a tag. We're going to expand on this by providing a motion warning whenever our motion level goes over a certain amount. So what we need to do is create some tags. We'll go to our tag manager. So what we need is a motion warning level. This is what the motion level has to be above before we give a warning, so it's a double. And then we'll also add a motion warning. So this is the value that's going to set when our motion level goes above our motion warning. Okay, now we've created our tags. We'll go back to our sequence and add a script block that's going to contain our logic. So I'll just drag in the script block. So you can see it has no inputs or outputs. So if I double click on this, I get an editor where I can define the inputs and outputs. In this case, we're just simply going to input the motion level, and that's going to be a double. And then we're going to output whether there was motion detected. Accept. So now our block has opened a script editor, where we can define simple scripting code to perform logic and execute various functions. In the header, we can see that the function is defined as a function which has an input of motion level and returns a boolean. So in the scripting editor, we can use simple Visual Basic code to evaluate our logic. In this case, all we need to do is say if our motion level input is greater than our motion level warning, then we return true, otherwise we return false. So we'll go ahead and add that code now. And you'll see how we have autocomplete in the script editor. So our set point, you'll find, is motion warning level. Press tab to continue, and then return true. So now I've created a very simple script which evaluates our logic. Now I'm going to save the script, and then I'll go back to my sequence where you'll see it's added an input pin of motion level and an output pin of result. So we now need to link our motion level from our motion detector block over here to our script block. And I'll rename our block over here so it has a more meaningful name. Check. Now I can run this sequence a couple of times, and you'll see that what's the output? There's no motion because our motion level is 0. But now if I move an object in the image by putting this, you can see the original image. I can see my motion level 0.45, and I can see my results now gone to true, so motion has been detected. And what I'm going to do is assign that output to our motion warning tag. So now we have a tag that goes on when our motion level is high and off when there's not enough motion. Now that we've added our logic to our application, we'll go back to the HMI to create some user controls for the application. For example, in our script where we're setting our checking our motion warning level, we actually want to add a user input so they can set this motion warning level. At the moment, it's set to a default value of 0. So let's go back to the page. Now that we're back on the HMI page, let's go ahead and find a user control where we can modify the motion level setting. So let's go to Numeric Entry and let's just drag that on. The Numeric Entry control allows users to input a value and change a tag. So in this case, we want to go down in the properties to value. We want to click on the binding, and we want to set our motion warning level setting. We go there, click accept. So now we've tied our numeric entry control to our motion warning level tag. Now whenever a user enters a new value in this control, the motion warning level tag will update. The next thing we want to do is add an indicator to show whether the motion was detected. So let's go ahead and add a rectangle graphic. So I can drag that on. And what we want to do is, when the motion warning is on, we want the color of the rectangle to show red, and when it's off, we'll show it grey. So we'll go to the fill color of this rectangle. We'll click the binding because we want it to come from the motion warning. We'll enter our motion warning. And we'll click validate, and you'll see that it's given us a pop-up saying we can't actually go from a Boolean tag to a color. So what we have to do is specify some associations. So the binding associations window allows us to specify associations between a tag value and a property value. So in this case, we want, when the input is on, we want the value, we want to select the color, and that's going to go red. We add that association, then we select false, and we want it to be grey. So let's just select grey down the bottom. And I'll add that as well, and then click accept. So now we've set up a binding association for this particular property, and we click accept, and you can see now how the color binding is gone green. So what we'll do is we'll just add that behind the motion image. So we'll just put this behind it like this. Okay, so now let's test out our user interface by going to test mode. And you'll see that the box is grey. Now if I put motion in there, the surrounding box goes red. Now when I move it away, it goes grey again. And I can also use my set point here to specify a motion level, a minimum motion level. So I'll put that at 0.5. And now small motions won't cause the motion warning to go off, but large motions, well, maybe even that's too big. Let's try again. Let's try 0.2. Let's try that again. So small motions should work, and then large motions cause the alarm to go off. Okay, now let's go back to development mode. So we've now added some more controls, some more logic, and what we're going to work on now is the data logging. So we're going to record an event to our database every time motion is detected. In the next tutorial, we'll cover a lot more in detail about how to actually build a really nice looking user interface with multiple pages. Okay, so now we're looking at data logging. So data logging, we can use our data sources, which is VisionServer's built-in embedded databases. So what we need to do first is define a new database. So we can either right click here and go new database, and we're going to specify where we want to put this database. We'll just go J data, and then we'll put it in here. So I'll call motion data. Save it. Okay, and so now we have our motion data database. And from there, a motion data database, we can have multiple tables. So we're going to define a table, and our table is going to be called motion events. So our table is going to have 3 columns. It's going to have a time, so when the motion event occurred, a message, which will be a text string, and the motion level. So we'll have the numeric value of the motion level that was detected. So I can add 3 columns here: time, message, and motion level. And that's a double as well. So once I add that, my table comes in here. So now that we've defined our data table, we need to create a way of recording to that data table. So we'll go back into our sequence, and over on the right at the end, what we want to do is add a database writer block. So with the database writer, we can append values to a data table. So again, double click to edit. We want to specify the table we want to write to, which is the motion data, motion events. We go accept. Now you can see it's added the 3 pins, each pin for each column in our data table. So the first one, time, message, and motion level. So every time this database writer block executes, it's going to add a new row of data to our data table. So we have to specify our inputs. So first of all, we want to get the current time. So we can go to our structure part of our toolbox, add a now block, drag it in. So the now block outputs the current time of the computer, and we'll link that in here. And we'll also link in the motion level from the motion detector block, and we'll put that there. For the message input, what we'll do is we'll create a script block, and we'll specify it to output a string, and then we'll write our code motion detected. Obviously this could be a lot more complex than that. It could write out a number of different things. It could write out the date, time, possibly even the motion warning level set by the user. But in this case, we're simply writing a fixed message. So I'll save that and go back to our sequence, and I'll just rearrange this, and I'll link that in there like that. So I'll just move these off the side a little bit. And so the main thing is now that we only want this database writer block to execute when the motion warning is on. So what I can do is put a new control on called the group, which is a region, draw that around our area that we want to conditionally enable, and in the properties down here on the right you can see condition. So I'm going to click the button and specify motion warning as my tag. So now the area of the sequence will only execute when that tag evaluates to true. So we've set up the code to write to the database. We now want to display the table on the user interface. So with the database we can create queries which allow us to retrieve data back from the database. So in my motion data, my motion events table, I'm going to create a new query. And this is simple SQL queries. The query you can see here just returns all data in the table. So the only modification we're going to do is we want to order the table data so that the most recent is at the top. So we can use order by time descending. We'll give our query a name, get recent, and then we'll select accept. So now we've got a new query under our table. So now with this query, we can go to our page and add a table object to display the query results. So let's find the table. Let's draw it on the page. And let's specify in the table properties, we need to specify a source. So in this case, the source is our query that we've just created. Motion data, motion events, get recent. And you can see when we zoom in that it's created a column name for each of our table columns. And we can edit these in here by editing the header, the format, the width. And we can specify a maximum update rate on the table. So in this case, we'll update the table at a maximum of twice a second. So now we'll test it. And you can see every time we get some motion, we get a whole new set of events appearing in the event log. So now we've got a simple motion detection application which allows user settings, records data, and animates based on the logic we've coded in our application. And that's all this video will have. There'll be another video along shortly containing more information on building the HMI pages, how to do page navigation, and a bit more advanced information on that. Thanks for watching this video.